I spent 30 days living in Saigon, and today I'm going to share with you what I loved, what I wish I had done differently, and most importantly, what I spent, because that was surprising even for me. I should say this is not my first time to Saigon, also known as Ho Chi Minh City. I've been visiting since 2008, but it wasn't until 2023 when I really started to visit Vietnam 1 to 2 times a year. And on my last visit, my partner Alan and I thought, next time let's stay longer and let's actually evaluate what it could be like to live here. Now I have 30-day cost of videos in Thailand and Mexico, so here's the first installment in Vietnam. What does it cost to live for 1 month in Saigon? If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Angelina, the Y is silent, and I run a website called Bacon is Magic, which is the best food around the world. I've been traveling for 16 years. But 4 years ago, while in Indonesia, I met my partner Alan, and we have been traveling throughout Southeast Asia, mostly for the last 4 years. But earlier this year, we went to Mexico. He loved it, as I knew he would. And so we've agreed that maybe it's time to settle down a little and create a base or 2 bases. One in Latin America, probably Mexico, and one in Southeast Asia. That way, 6 months of the year, he's close to his family. 6 of the months of the year, I'm kind of close to mine. Now, we are not close to being retired. We're in our 40s, but the idea of having a routine is really nice. We'd like to have something that has a good cost of living, comfortable living, and somewhere that we feel like we can somewhat integrate into the culture. And for us, the past couple of years, Vietnam has been at the top of the list in Southeast Asia. We both love it, love the food, love the culture, but visiting and loving somewhere is much different than living somewhere. So really evaluating these 30 days has been important for us. Now, everyone wants to know what is the best neighborhood in Ho Chi Minh, and the truth is that's kind of hard to say. A lot of great neighborhoods, but Ho Chi Minh actually extends so far now. 2 hours down the road is Vung Tau at the ocean, and that is part of Ho Chi Minh. We have visited a number of different neighborhoods, stayed in I think 4 or 5, but we came back to District 1. And honestly, it's because our friend Young has a restaurant here, Kam Ga Tam Ki, chicken and rice. It's amazing. He's a fantastic person. And we thought, let's start with somebody that we know, we're close to him, but also for this apartment building. It doesn't look like much. It's from the 1960s and it's an old concrete block with a lot of windows that give you a breeze. They say 1,000 people live in this block, and it is really mostly these studio lofts that are kind of small for a modern space. But the reason we love it is it has such a sense of community. On every floor, people run little businesses. So downstairs, we have the person who does the laundry. There's a coffee shop. There's a convenience store right around the corner from me. Someone does nails. Like, everybody kind of runs a business. In the mornings, you'll find some elderly people are using the hallways to get in their exercise. They do laps. Around 3 o'clock in a couple of hours, we're gonna find kids playing here, playing like pickleball, soccer, running around. And so it's kind of a very beautiful place to be because you can see Vietnamese life, and we love it. Now, the best place to rent an apartment in Saigon is to go on Facebook groups. There are lots of groups for short-term rentals, for long-term rentals, for expats. But I will say this, if you're only renting for a month, they're going to tell you to go to Airbnb. It's just not worth the hassle for them. That said, I found this place on Airbnb back in 2023. We booked 4 days direct with them and then stayed another 4.5 weeks. So 5 weeks total, and we paid her directly because Airbnb not only charges you service fees, but also charges the host. So it's better if you just book direct. Now, 3 years later, we are back again, and it is low season. So she actually gave us an amazing rate for being central in District 1. It's 12 million dong a month. Now that is not only just a great price, but also it's because it's completely inclusive. So for example, when you're going to rent, you have to pay a deposit and trust the landlord that they'll give it back to you if you don't trash the place. You have to pay a water fee that's per person per month. And then you also pay an electricity fee. The rate is often not what the government charges, but what they decide they should charge you. I think changing a little bit as the government wants things to be more fair, but that's an easy way for them to make just a little bit of extra money. We are not paying any of those things. We get free Wi-Fi and it's very fast. Overall, I think it's a really great deal. If you're interested in booking direct, I will give you her WhatsApp in the description below. Now, the neighbors here have been really great. I think after you stay more than a couple of days, they start to realize, oh, these people are hanging around for a while. So now on the elevator, they talk to me or they might make jokes. I'm learning more Vietnamese, so I can say to them like, I need to go to Sao Chi, which is the 6th floor. Yeah, it's just been really nice. Even though we are outsiders, this is just one way to make things feel a little bit more like home. This is not a country where you want to learn how to drive. Trust me, you want to leave it to the locals. But fortunately, there are rideshare services similar to Uber but local, known as Grab, and also my favorite, Zang, which is a turquoise fleet of cars and motorbikes that are completely electric. Now, the important thing to know that I learned is that never leave anything less than a 5-star review. So the drivers here, they work long hours, very hard, but if they get less than 5 stars, that means that they might not get access to future rides. So that 1-star review because you're annoyed they don't speak English, that actually really can hurt them and their family. If you don't have a good experience, just don't leave a review. I always say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. And actually there's some discussion to have the bus actually be free for everyone. And that is because the city, but also the country, is looking at their environmental footprint and how do they make the issues with air quality better. And one of those ways is to get more vehicles off the street, and offering a free bus is definitely one of them. One of the things I'm most excited about is actually the Metro. And that's because it completely opens up the city. Now, it opened up in 2024. I think there are 14 stops. There are 3 here in the central area. And then it goes out to a lot of other areas that maybe I wouldn't have explored if it weren't so easy. But the Metro, 6,000 dong one way. It is very clean. It operates about every 10 minutes. And it also has the most deliciously cold AC. It has really been so lovely, and I've taken it many times. I really enjoy it. Now, for this month, we actually walked almost everywhere. We really wanted to get our groundings, our bearings, and so we only spent 500,000 dong on transportation alone. And that was really, if we had walked so much during the day, we just wanted to get a Grab back home or a few bus rides and a couple subway rides. But transportation in Saigon, very, very easy. But one of the things that really excites me most about transportation,
Where you from?
Canada.
Oh, from Canada. Wow, Canadian.
Yeah.
Where you from? Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto.
Atlantic province, the Atlantic Ocean,
I know.
opposite side.
I know in your country because I have many friends in your country. I
What
know
cities?
Vancouver, yes.
Vancouver.
Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, Calgary. That's right.
Ah.
I have been in your country before for 2 years ago for holiday.
Yeah. Listen, tell me your name here and how people can contact you, and I'll put it in the video. What's your name?
I'm shy.
Don't be shy, you're a tour guide.
Yeah,
How can people find you? Do you have Instagram?
I have.
What is it? I'll put it up in the video.
Later.
Okay. Oh, that was very fun and funny. I think that was a Grab driver who actually stopped because he's also a tour guide. Now, I actually think that it would be great to get a tour from a Grab driver because they do know the best places to eat in the city. But I have Nana, my friend, who is also a national tour guide here in Vietnam. And part of the reason I'm here for 90 days is that we're actually going to run a tour here in Vietnam in early 2027. If you're interested in it, you're interested in doing one that's food forward, local places, learning more about local culture, I will have a QR code right here. This is just for an interest list. Like if you want to hear the details when I finally have the dates, you can be on that list, but definitely not a commitment. But that also leans into the next topic, which is Saigon safe? Now, I can only speak for myself, but as a woman, I do feel safe in Saigon. A lot of people will stop, they want to talk to you, maybe they want to sell you something, maybe they're just curious about you, maybe they just want to practice their English. You always have to be aware of these kinds of things. In general, Alan and I aren't out at the bars at 3 a.m. We don't drink a lot, and we don't put ourselves into dangerous situations where we would be around criminals. So we do feel safe here. I've never had a problem with anyone, and I've never felt like anyone would be aggressive around us. That said, we are kind of doubly respectful because we know that we are guests in this country. Not everyone feels that way. Some people feel entitled, and that's probably where they get into a little bit of problem. It's why we keep coming back, the people. And there is a lot of traffic here. Now, Alan comes from Indonesia, which is a very heavy motorbike country as well, and he grew up driving one, and so he drives here. But even he has said that Vietnam is a little bit next level, and that's because in Indonesia, the priority goes to the motorbike. But here, there are lots of cars and vehicles and buses. They are not going to stop for motorbikes, and they're certainly not going to stop for pedestrians. Yes, that lovely electric public bus, it will run you over. So if you're crossing the street, go at a steady pace. The bikes will move around you, but you can't be frantic. Stay steady so they can anticipate where you'll be. If you see a four-wheeled vehicle, the bigger, the worse it is, get out of the way. Honestly, I have almost been run over by public buses so many times. Two wheels good, four wheels get out of the way. And if you have travel insurance, make sure you have motorcycle riding as an addition to it. But just to let you know, you do need an international driver's permit to drive in Vietnam legally. If you get into an accident, your travel insurance will not cover it if you don't have an IDP. However, something tricky about this, Vietnam actually does not recognize IDPs from Canada, the US, New Zealand, and a few other countries, I think Japan and maybe South Korea. So you need to check to see if it's valid. Yes, if you get stopped by the police, maybe you can give them some cash and it goes away. But if you get into an accident that costs tens of thousands of dollars, you're on your own. Speaking of that, let's go get Alan. It's time for breakfast. Let's talk about food. This is the most subjective thing anyone can report on for a 30-day cost of living. And that's because it really depends on, do you like to drink? What do you like to drink? Do you eat traditional food? Do you prefer Western food? Do you have dietary restrictions? All of them factors in. But for us, it pretty much stays consistent. We like to eat traditional food. We love the energy of eating on the street. And we love to support small local businesses, the mom and pop shops, the places where they run it out of our house. That's really where we thrive in the food that we crave. When we're in Vietnam, we mostly want to eat Vietnamese food. Although I think after these 30 days, we might end up spending a little bit more on some Western food because I am just craving hummus. Now, there are two costs when you factor in eating, and that is the food that you bring in, your groceries, and eating out. For groceries, we have a small kitchen, but the cost of eating out is so little. We basically only keep yogurt, some bread, some snacks, and the fruit that we buy in the street from the ladies in front of our apartment. So this month we spent 3 million dong. Eating out is a little bit more, but to be honest, I got a plate of fish and tofu stuffed with chicken. It's actually easier and cheaper for me to buy someone who knows what they're doing than to make this myself. When I compared the price of fish to buying it from a grocery store or even from the market as a foreigner, it kind of didn't make sense. Now, we are just around the corner from our apartment where there is a mosque that was built by Indonesians and Malaysians. And the food here is all halal, but it's also really high quality. So they have you can get rice with chicken or meat or seafood. And then there's another spot that at night has a barbecue. You can get pho here that's made of chicken or some other dishes like ba ka. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Or this spot, which is only open for breakfast. Food in Vietnam, part of the reason why it is a little bit cheaper is it's light on protein. So a pro tip, if you're not coming here for breakfast, where you're basically just having fish and tofu, a lot of times what I do is I go to the market. You can get for 20 cents a block steamed tofu. I keep it at our house, but I also bring it to restaurants. So places that I really like the food, but they don't quite have enough protein, I just whip out my tofu and add it to my plate. Food here is so good. We eat out twice a day, and the cost for that is $9 million for the month, which I think is pretty good. It's about $75 a day. Sometimes we spend more depending on where we go. Sometimes we spend less. If we're getting food from a vegetarian restaurant, obviously a lot less. And if we order seafood or fish, it's a little bit more. Some people spend too much money on beer, wine, cocktails when they travel. We spend too much money on coffee. It's the one thing that when we go to Thailand, I usually get a coffee maker if we're going to stay a month because it's cheaper for me to buy a machine and give it to our host than to actually go out for coffee every day. But that's not true in Vietnam. In Vietnam, it's very reasonably priced, but also it's one of our favorite moments of the day. We already have some of our favorite places to go, and we categorize the do you want to go for coffee into 3 different kinds. There's the place right here across the street from our apartment that's in a little alleyway. It's only 25,000 dong, and it is so strong, so good. Or there's the end of the block where we go see Ho, who also makes banh mi, and she gives us these little tidbits of advice like, hey, don't buy pastries from people selling on the street because that's day old and probably stale. Or we go to one of the many coffee shops in our neighborhood where we sit down for a couple of hours to work because it's very important to have a third space in Vietnam. A lot of people's houses are very small, and so students from 11 a.m. onward, we'll all go to a coffee shop, meet in groups, buy one coffee, stay there all day. But I love the energy of seeing what they're working on, what they're doing. We have 3 favorite spaces that we love to go to. And honestly, for me, as someone who's really type A, the idea of slowing down just to have coffee, relax, enjoy is probably my favorite part of Saigon. It's not seeing anything, it's just the moment to relax. Sweet, sweet Cafe Denda. Now, Robusta beans are a little bit more bitter, and so you do need to have a little bit of sugar in it. Now, I've moved to black coffee with a little bit of sugar. The most popular Vietnamese coffee is, for foreigners, is Sua Da, and it has so much sugar in it from the condensed milk. I don't think that's an everyday coffee. Alan has noticed that he's starting to gain a little bit of weight after losing a bunch of it from being in Indonesia after Mexico, riding a bike every day, just working hard. But that is what having condensed milk will do to you. I love this place. It is called Zot Le, and Huang, one of the guys here, just told me it means running fast. And this place is really interesting because it's in a little alleyway, and they really embrace kind of the local coffee culture here. So there's not a lot of people here right now, but usually during the day there are tons. You just sit on these little, camping chairs, and they've got Wi-Fi, they've got a bathroom. They also use glass and glass straws, which I love, but they're usually making coffee here. So they're here until about 2 p.m. and they make a coffee and they distribute it to a bunch of people on bikes who then sell it. So this is kind of like the hub. So you'll see a lot of young people here in groups, and it's one of my favorite places. So we tend to come here a lot. I think it's the strongest coffee. Alan actually thinks Ho's is the strongest. He thinks this is a bit softer, but maybe they give him more condensed milk. I don't know. What really gets people are miscellaneous costs, all of the things that you don't think about. So while everyone wants to know the price of accommodation or food, it's really the day-to-day things that can eat into your budget. I actually keep an Excel sheet of every single expense. I take pictures of all of our receipts, and then I make notes of all of the places that we eat that do not give us receipts, which is a lot. So let me just share with you some of our miscellaneous costs. Our travel insurance, which is $150 a month for 2 people. We also just joined this amazing gym, City Gym. They gave us this incredible deal where it is $135,000 each per month. That is not going to last. It's only a 2-month promo. They get you hooked, and then it's actually about the price of a gym at home, but this gym is so great, I think it might just be worth it. So their promo is working. Viatel, if you're not using an eSIM, if you're on a local SIM, that's about $100,000 a month. And then I bought an air fryer because in Thailand I used it every day to actually fry tofu, and here I don't, because you can just buy it on the street for less. Then there are miscellaneous things like shampoo, all the little batteries, things that you think that you need. We needed a little screwdriver. I would say the nice thing is, for the most part, you can get it 2 ways. Either, if you need a screwdriver, someone is selling it on the street. You need your pants hemmed, there is someone with a sewing machine. If you can't find it on the street, you can find it on Shopee or Lazada, which is also very dangerous because everything looks like such a great price. You can really blow your budget there. But on things like that, the little things like shopping, shampoo, the screwdriver, we spent about $400. I expect that expense to go down unless for some reason our need to be on Shopee and Lazada goes up. We're back at my apartment building, so it's time to share what everybody's been waiting for. A drum roll, please. In 30 days, we spent... Now, I know in the comments section, some people are going to say, that's ridiculous, not enough money, no way you only spent that. And other people are going to say, wow, that's not very much different than what you spent in Thailand or Mexico. And to be honest, I really think that is because the way we live. We're not drinkers, we're not going out to bars, we love local food, and just kind of simple living. We spend the most money, honestly, on these fruit ladies. We give them so much money every day. But we're not trying to stay on a budget, it's just how we live. And this month, we didn't travel, we didn't go anywhere, no Western restaurants, and so naturally, it ended up being probably a light month for us, even though we did invest quite a bit on just getting things into the apartment that we needed, like a cutting board and a proper knife, and I bought a yoga mat that I never used because we went to the gym. But in a few weeks, I'm going to have a video for you of 90 days living in Saigon. Do I still want to move here? Do I still feel like this is the place for me? I guess we'll see. There are some things that I'm already thinking I probably would change if I would stay here long term, but I guess you're going to have to wait for the next video to find out. See you then.